So what do you say that we... Yeah, hi. You don't have a ring. I can't play fetch with you. Why don't we imagine what the journey is that Velma takes? Had back-to-back natural 20s on combat today. Oh, nice, Diadems. Victor says, I took a look at my D&D character list. Most of my characters have been religious zealots. Well, I mean, from the campaign that you're running, Victor, there seems to be strong themes of religion or a fanaticism or like cult activity. So it might make sense then if that's been, you know, your driving goal. Okay. No nat ones, but was only hitting 1 out of every 6 times. Well, hopefully the crits made it a little bit more exciting for you. I noticed that 2 of my characters have crucifixion records, so yeah. Well then, challenge yourself, Victor. If you find that you're making the same characters over and over again, and you want to refresh yourself, make a happy-go-lucky bard. Make a character, well, kind of like what we made Velma. Yeah, she's a barbarian, but she's a charlatan who runs cons on the street. Who would expect that out of a savage barbarian? You know, someone who's really more urban, who lives in the city, who uses her deft hands in order to try and make a living, not just her strong arms to muscle through things. Challenge yourself a bit. And have fun with it, most of all. King is proposing. Velma's grandmother informs her that her special monk scrying, which involves her crushing a camera with her fist, has produced a picture of a violent blonde dwarf that tries to kill her grandpa back in the 1850s with the clever use of eye lasers and boat zombies. And now she must travel from Japan to Cairo. Make sure, did you say OC no steel? Velmo's run out of town after trying the con on the wrong person. So, yeah, let's take her on the journey, right? So, by default, I mean, she doesn't have to be level 6. Maybe she is. Probably at least level 3 if we want to entertain her as a berserker in some way. So, to go through these roleplay prompts or to use this as an outline for a single-player campaign, what are some things that we can try and plan along the way to challenge Velma Dilly Dilly that would result in her character growing and developing over time? Velma learns to defend herself in the city as a part of learning the tricks of her trade, and is run out after a while for her constant petty thievery. And by the way, that can also come into this point here too in her background. Oh, come on. Oh, that's right. It's on the first page on this one. I swindled and ruined a person who didn't deserve it. If we're starting at level 3 or level 4, then 1 through 3 is a part of her background. So in this case, we might be able to invoke her bond and draw the character into the story, not just have it be a placeholder inside it, but actually make Velma a part of this world. Nothing personnel, kid, says King. Victor already made another religious character, a tiefling ranger acolyte, who's looking for his former master Ludwig. Well, if you like it, continue doing it, Victor. But the power is definitely inside you. You have control over the characters that you're creating. Heck, Victor, challenge yourself and make a completely random character and see what happens. Something that tests her morals and honesty. Well, so now we come up to this next event. Event 1, she ends up multi-classing into being a monk. Finds a monastery and trains in order to improve herself and her morale, maybe? If not morale, then morals. Well, Victor, if you feel that that's something that is about you as a person or your character design, it's within your power to do so. Just find something else. Again, have the happy bard that loves singing children's songs. Or play the fighter who's the gruff detective, you know, who takes no nonsense but has a heart of gold, even though his bum ticker means that this case is going to be his last. I wonder how interesting it'd be to play a Kenku Bard. If you did that, Zebra, you would be the equivalent of like the local top hits radio station you have that plays the same 10 popular songs on a rotating hourly basis. Because all he can do is repeat the top songs that he hears. And that's... Diadems, you should try to step away from religious characters. Branch out. Yeah, give it a break. Grow yourself as a person, Victor. Oh, alright, Sprocketeer. Be well. Thank you for hanging out with us. Have an awesome day. And we'll see you around. Here, if you watch on YouTube or you're over in Discord or whatever, we'll see you. Thank you for finding us again and being a part of what we're doing. In this case, each level / milestone can help reinforce changes in her lifestyle. So 1 through 3, you know, she's a barbarian at 1. You know, she does pull these cons, and we could come up with 3 adventures that are milestones themselves. You know, she has to pull a con on someone, go from there. Now, with her first change, she's going to multi-class into monk, and then she's going to be 3 and 3. Civil. Velma and maybe some meddling friends should be on an overarching mission to find whoever's been conquering a local wilderness her people once lived in, then somehow reveal the masked conqueror's secret identity. What if it was a ghost the whole time? Did any of you see that Scooby-Doo Supernatural crossover episode? King says, I think the specific challenge here, Victor, is to write a character with deeper or higher convictions without using an organization or existing entity as a crutch. Ah, there you go. Okay, do what you gotta do, Victor. Do what you gotta do, my man. Okay, next event. What occurs to Velma Dilly Dilly where she changes her background and her alignment both? If we were playing in a, and mind you, as a dwarf, this could happen over the course of 50 years. She's lived a life for so long. As a single player, we don't have to necessarily keep our adventures contiguous for an entire epic campaign where all of us are needing to micromanage our day-to-day lives. She's one person in the world, and she's going out and doing things on an episodic basis. Well, she can. I kind of like the sound of Tusk Rider. You stopped watching Supernatural around season 11. It got kind of boring for you. Well, if you can catch the Scooby-Doo crossover, Zebra, I think you'll enjoy it. Maybe this takes place over 2 steps. It could be 3, but... Oh yeah, Victor. I'll be when we finish up, I will give you some feedback on your story as well. Hey, Chaotic. Oh, that's one of the few you've actually seen? There you go, Chaotic speaking up for it. She finds a personal realization and gives up her charlatan ways. In so doing, she has a change of heart. Dragon Newt sounds like a gross... Pardon. Yeah, lovable swamp critter. Tusk Rider sounds like an orcish beastmaster. Kind of. Let's see. So what would make her come to terms? If she went to a monastery and started learning to become a monk. So one challenge could be to learn humility, that she must beg in the village by the monastery for whatever, X gold, instead of tricking people out of it. And this is something you can do in a heads-up campaign, right? It's social interactions. By default, people are going to be likely to trust you as a monk. It would be up to you then to practice deceiving or robbing people. Otherwise, you could run a session where you're networking with villagers. You are giving impassioned speeches. You are trying to perform menial tasks, or I don't know. What if there's a tribe of goblins? And again, be careful about scaling, because especially if there's only one person, a tribe of goblins to well, even at 7 or 8, could be threatening. But maybe there's a tribe of goblins that are harassing the people, and so this monk goes out and sees that the goblins have been stealing from the villagers, and to see what stealing does, it turns you into a goblin. All these ill-gotten gains. All these things that the goblins died despite having stolen from other people. And how did they live? How did that make her feel? They have all the gold from the village piled in the back of their cave, and yet the goblins are still defeated. And that could be a challenging battle encounter as well. That can lead to a moral realization that could therefore reflect and grow your character. Because as a DM, don't be afraid to allow your player character or player characters to change things like alignment or, given the circumstances, background, or, as well, we didn't do a racial swap, but some other aspects of the character. Maybe it happens because of the circumstances, or because the player wants to go in that direction. So look, she becomes optimistic. And then she does misquote sacred text and Proverbs. She lets her faith guide her. Everything she does is for the common people. Remember, as a DM, a PC's background is very fertile soil for you to plant the seeds of your adventure in and watch it grow. Level 9 or 10. So here, this event is she has retrained. Retrained some skills and has taken a feat in order to make herself better in some way. Now, as we were building her, we said, well, if we kept her 6, what would she sacrifice back in order to take it? A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. In a heads-up adventure, if she's not out there saving the world, necessarily, or if she is, by simply serving the common folk, because someone's got to do that too. This could be a sabbatical for knowledge. Right? If she wants to train into history, or retrain into history, a sabbatical for knowledge. She leaves the monastery. She goes on a journey which doesn't have to be too complex, but it'll take time. She sees the land. She helps the people along the way. And by the time she gets to the other monastery, maybe she has the answer to the question that she was told by the first monk that the Grand Master of the second monk is gonna ask you. It could be a skill challenge. Also, with persuasion athletics, all of these skills are adventures that this character can have in order to become proficient, or something to pick up along the way. Obtain her cherished instrument by following her faith and helping the common people. And over the course of time, Velma Dilly Dilly is going to have these changes of heart. On the journey, she's going to learn how to play a pan flute or something along those lines. Now, what is her moral conundrum that she is going to switch from lawful neutral to neutral good? Is this the answer to the two temples riddle? She was trained to be neutral and structured as an impulsive student. Over the course of her pilgrimage, when she answers the riddle by the second temple's master, is that then what would trigger this change in her character, in on the physical change on her character sheet? That she learns to be contemplative and patient, yet at the end to be selfless and maybe even sacrificing in some way. If you want to test a character, especially in a single player, how about this? She meets the Grand Master of the Second Temple to which she was taking a pilgrimage. As they're talking, and he's getting ready to ask the second riddle. What a ninja's attack, or something of the like. You as a DM know two things. One, this combat should end Velma Dilly Dilly. Like, it shouldn't be obviously a raffle stomp of the character. But at this point, at this halfway point, right? You're already on the back half of the levels. We've gone 1 to 10, now we're starting on 11 going to 20. This is a good power check. And two, this is willing to check the character. Is she willing to sacrifice herself to protect this other master? Maybe even one who is acting grumpy towards her, right? Challenge her morals. And then at the end, when the ninjas, even if some of them are defeated, maybe not even killed, but she chooses to knock them out despite them trying to fight lethally. That's when the master calls for enough, and the ninjas reveal themselves to be students of the temple. And this was a training exercise. That way, you know what? If she surprises you and knocks out all the ninjas, you've earned it. Especially if you haven't killed anyone. Or if she gets defeated, she fought hard, gets a reward and a true moral lesson. And you pull back because she wasn't necessarily in lethal danger, but you simulated the effect that she could have been. And so her heart has changed, as she was willing to die for this other person. Zebra, yep, that's a good suggestion as well. Yeah, yep, that's a good guideline, Alzi. Now, her class and archetype change. She shifts fully from barbarian monk to becoming a cleric of light. As we're telling this story and we're offering her a challenge, she has now gained acceptance into this other temple. And that's fine. She started her journey, but the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Level 12 to 13. You could even piecemeal it out over the course of several adventures. where one level at a time, you... Because look, if it's a heads up, you might have more time between each other as DM and PC. You might even see, like, every part of the journey will effectively make you multi-classed until you're not. So, for example, the Temple Master tells her, I want you to pray for 5 days. No eating, drinking, or sleeping. Or, like, no sleeping for more than, I don't know, an hour a day or something like that. And that could very well be a skill challenge. You know, a series of con checks. I mean, she's a dwarf, so she'd be into it. Hey, Neo Realms, good to see you. Welcome. By the way, everyone, Neo Realms has been doing some awesome art. In fact, he was painting minis earlier tonight. If you haven't already gone over to say hi to Neo Realms and watch him work, please do so. Awesome dude, lots of fun, good humor, and I love his art style. So, but what you could do then on this first task, it might only take one session to do, is to overcome this prayer challenge. And now you tell this one player, all right, you are a Barbarian 3, Monk 3. I want you to remake the character as a Barbarian X, Monk Y, Cleric 1. Now, I mean, we're sticking with the 6 levels of this. I mean, you could make it faster. If we're talking level 12 or 13, you could have it be all at once. You know, it's a grueling thing. Or you go half and half, where the monk is replaced first. Or over, again, a series of events, you slowly replace, you dwindle the monk and you replace it by cleric, and then it eats into barbarian. Maybe that is what the player has chosen to be symbolic, because that's who she was for the longest time. Her anger has carried her and protected her, even helped protect other people. But now she has to let that go and accept this light. And accept this new lifestyle. And because you have a little bit more convenience of time, because it's easier to get the actions and thoughts of one person as a DM instead of 4, 5, 6 more, you can have a roleplay session, a combat, a skill challenge, narrative with no dice whatsoever, in order to now affect this change that she becomes a fully vested cleric of light with any appropriate skill challenge or ability score shifts. You say, well, what if I wanted to take her and she's not dexterous anymore? What if I want dex to be a dump stat? That's fine. Have you gone on a fast of X amount of days, weeks, or months where your body changes? Maybe she was put on a special diet that it supplements her muscles, but it causes her joints to stiffen. There's a lot of different things that you can do to develop the world, the character, the religion, all of that, and still be able to explain a mid-campaign class shift and ability shift, too. Montage of faith, challenges, moral quandary. All at once or incremental by session. Level 14 to... Actually, let's just have this be level 14. She trades out her athletics and acrobatics for medicine and performance and takes inspiring leader as a feat. Now she has been vested in her faith. And she is going back out to the world, maybe even to that original city that she was kicked out of originally. Her original city she was kicked out of originally. I are English good. return to the city from whence she came in order to fully atone for her crimes as a charlatan. Along the way, she gathers pilgrims and must shepherd, them keeping them physically and morally safe. So that could reflect giving up something. Maybe over the course, some bandits try and waylay the pilgrims back to the city, and she beats them, but something happens. Maybe with her stat shift earlier, this is where in a roleplay setting, her joints were aching a bit, or she has been meditating so long that she's lost her muscle mass in some capacity. A little bit of the edge has been polished off of her. And now she gets back, and not only is she an inspiring leader, and she is proficient in medicine and performance as a way to entertain and keep them healthy on this journey. All right, Victor, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Well, I guess it's morning for you. This morning. Velma goes on a juice cleanse to detox. Yeah, exactly, Alzy. Or goes on like a health kick fad. It's either like squeezing juices, or it's like a coffee enema, or it's like all water, nothing else. Or it's like water that has a rock boiled in it, so you get some minerals in it or something like that. Or you eat caterpillars or something as a diet because that's supposed to cleanse you. Yeah, Chaotic. Victor lives in the future. Now, here's a big one. Level 15, 16, and 17. This is where she turns from being a cleric into a Beastmaster Ranger. She takes a defensive fighting style, and she starts stalking the Underdark and Arctic regions, which are clues as to the geography. And her favorite enemies that we randomly rolled were fiends and undead. We're affording ourselves 3 levels here, because things are happening. What happens when she returns to the city where she was going to seek atonement? Was the city ransacked? Or did you deliver this single player in the campaign another crushing blow, despite having the support now of pilgrims, of NPCs who would follow her? And presenting herself as this torchbearer of holiness endangers the survivors and herself. And so she must learn a new way. She's still an acolyte by background, but she needs to turn her energies from being an overt cleric of peace and love, now that she sees that there's this dark world that has consumed behind her. By the way, something you could have seeded on, in those early levels back when she was in the city. Maybe it was an NPC she crossed. Maybe it was someone she swindled. Maybe it was someone she worked for and she had to pay a portion of the money she swindled to him to repay a debt, or because it was a non sexual agreement of representation. The city is overrun, and she must relearn how to live life again in an assertive way, while still protecting those she has following her. This is good. This can open up, look, Fiends and Undead, this opens up so many different options for dungeons and tombs and whatnot, or even just street level encounters where ghosts or whatever shambling undead are wobbling around, and you hunt them. And by the way, that's more convenient for a solo campaign, when you engage the enemy on your terms, because you are the one who's sneaking around. You're planning the hunt, you're planning the hide, and you're taking the shot yourself. And then you move on to the next one. And you move on to the next one. And you keep killing your way up to the top. Oh, Chaotic Blue. What happened? We rolled well. Ranger time. Yep, we're in Ranger mode. Diadems goes into the tombs. Speaking of tombs, a flaming skull appears. You have advantage. Oh, look at that, Diadems. Nice. Alzy says, oh man, the enemies are my favorite part of every D... Right? Whoever describes their character going off to the side of the trail and, you know, well, using the restroom, but let alone getting a colon cleansing. Come on. And you know what? It wasn't even a choice, Chaotic. We rolled each of those enemies as random. De nada, Diadems, de nada. Level 18. Having fought her way through the infested city, she finds that the king has died. The people need a follower. And with all her training so far, she assumes the title of king, despite being female. And the blurb we had here, which it was kind of shaded out. Another thought, the dwarves have an immortal king in that the successor assumes the identity of the original king, same name, etc. After an undead raid, the king and all successors are slain, so Velma must adopt the identity of the immortal king, now living as a man. So in this case, maybe the king, who engaged her in honorable one-on-one combat, was slain. And because, well, everyone else in the court was turned by him, the survivors that she's rallied, almost kind of like Terminator-esque style, right? They need a leader. And so she is the immortal king. But of course, even though she is the heroine of this story, many of the other people are very traditional or will only accept a king. And so she has done all of this so far. She becomes a male, she becomes a king and not a queen or a duchess or whatever. Shouldn't it be the people need a leader? For what, Dark Wolf? Oh yeah, Alzy, that was your suggestion. Hey, Belloc-Nella, welcome back. Something like this for one level? This can be social navigation, maybe a skill challenge, or as the DM to the one player, you narrate what happens. And what you do is you tell your player, I'm giving you 50 years. I'm giving you 50 years. You tell me what you're going to do to turn this trash pile of a city that was overrun by undead and demons, thanks to this previous king. How are you going to make it prosperous again? Because you're still neutral good. You have this acolyte, this religious background. You also have a military background now as a ranger. And the session or the several sessions turn into the player kind of playing SimCity with you. Every year this happens, and you have a back and forth negotiation. Maybe there's some skill challenges. Look, she's a dwarf. She's going to live a good long while. What's 50 years of rulership as a king? Aside from, you know, finding a good beard to wear. Unless this world has dwarves with, female dwarves with beards, in which case, I don't know. Find a way to, not get caught with your curves out. Something along those lines. You wrote the people need a follower. Oh, gotcha. Right? So you play a game of SimCity. That's still playing D&D. And all of this is very good for a heads-up session. In fact, if you wanted to offer a challenge, you could have something you can roll it. Every 1d6 years, someone tries to kill her. Or there's an undead flare-up that, you know, a pocket was missed. And as they were going to demolish an old building, they all crawled out of the basement or something. And some sort of a command needs to be given in order to handle it. You're still playing D&D at that level. Don't think that you're not. If you've ever played The Sims or SimCity, you know what one person can do to affect an entire region when given the power to make those choices, especially at level 18, which, by the way, is epic level in 5th edition. 17, 18, 19, 20, those are the epic levels. Level 19. She swaps skills and feats. She takes up stealth. She becomes a skulker. Invasion. Resurgence. Return of the dead king after 50 years. By this point, as the king, she has knowledge. She can make informed decisions. And she has power. She also might be getting older. And there's only so much she's going to be able to do for so long. There could be a threat. What if she needs to go out and get allies? Because it could be 50. We could make it 100 years. For some arbitrary reason, demons, despite being chaotic evil creatures, will wait every exact 100 years to attack again. Or it could just be the signs and portents of you roll a percentile as a DM. I mean, devils might do 100 years. Or they'll negotiate with you down. She needs to dust off and make a pact with others now that the city is both restored and under threat. Perhaps she can convince her trading partners to help. Infiltration. Social skills. She still has these. But this is why she's going to turn from inspiring leader to skulker. She has functional people now who can take care of her. She needs to now get around. She needs to be mobile. She needs to be able to see what's happening, even in the dark. She travels to the Fae she met when becoming a ranger in the Arctic. Level 20. She fully converts from being a ranger to a druid, earning her near immortal status, as well as uniting the lands and people after fully purging the corruption from the city, not just sealing it away. She leads the armies back across a frozen, or I guess near frozen, sea by boat in order to return as soon as possible, where she reveals her true self to all who no longer question her for her actions, nor care that she still must be a male to lead, as she has been leading as a woman this whole time, even if it was a ruse. Now, with those random elements, she's a female again. She gets this sailor background, and she becomes a Circle of the Land Arctic druid. She's carried her faith. She's gone on this personal journey of growth and an imagination. All of this has happened to one player that you are running this campaign for as a DM. Right? You have some ideas in mind. You've made manageable encounters, and you've strung it out over the course of several hundred years. In this case, you have the time for that. She has the time for that. And now that she's a level 20 druid, she has a couple thousand more years to live. Maybe 2,000? I'd have to look at the conversion again. You've told an epic tale. You have fought enemies. You have snuck around. You have evolved as this, as this shady character on a street corner pulling scams in a city that apparently was already corrupt and immoral, but you got kicked out because maybe you just got caught. That sets you on the straight and narrow. That faith has guided you, and by the time you come back, you are no longer this charlatan barbarian growing up on the streets playing 3-card Monty or the shell game on a collapsible table. You are the leader of this place. You are this epic level person who accomplished this over all of these years with patience and thoughtfulness by interacting with the world. Dark Wolf says, sorry to grammar police yet. It's fine. I'm glad you caught that. I'm watching the new fantasy cartoon, The Dragon Prince, on Netflix right now with my 5-year-old. It's a pretty good little D&D campaign. I can't say I've heard of it, but I will take your recommendation and look into it. That it's good. Remind me to not get on your bad side, says Diadems. To whom? To King Von Alay. The Belek Nella. Angry Jack is leveling up. Or something is happening that only allows the demons to invade during certain windows. Yeah, some kind of liminality. You know what? We were talking about the approach of Halloween, which is in about a month, a little bit more. Or Samhain, or some people call it Samhain. It's Samhain. That's true. There could be some celestial event, planar alignment, some liminality that occurs where the fabric between worlds thins. And all the signs and portents are there, especially because she trained over, 50 years or more to read them and to be patient and to let the answers come to her instead of having to go out and hustle for them every day. Anyone know if the Eye of the Beholder Game Boy Advance game is good? It is a Dungeon and Dragon type of setup. I don't know offhand, Belak. Hey, Plunder Loot! Indeed, be the leader. Welcome, man. It's good to see you. It's the one before the Amiga game. It's the one that they ported to Amiga. Oh, Gaelic, you so wacky. Yeah, with Samhain, even though it's spelled S-A-M-H-A-I-N. Pool of Radiance was fun on NES. I'm talking about all these old timey-wimey games. Hey, Golden, good to see you. PogChamp indeed. We've been talking about a lot of stuff tonight. Good stuff too. And then we took a bunch of random events and we made an entire level 1 to 20 epic level adventure that a DM can run for one person playing Velma Dilly Dilly that we generated not but a couple days ago. You got your belly. Yeah, what are you going to do? Oh, Baldur's Gate. Okay. So I hope, we don't have, not everything has the encounters planned out. I didn't bring up the stats of the ninjas that are going to drop in and try to attack the Master of the Temple in order to get the one character to defend. Those are things that you can do over the course of your campaign, but I hope that this discussion was fun. It got you imaginative. It showed you the power of randomness and how also we can come to terms with all of the randomness that can occur in our lives. And to open you up perhaps to the option of, even if you can't get a full 4, 5 party member, 6 party member party together, you can still run meaningful D&D with a small group of 1, maybe 2 people. Zebracorn, Baldur's Gate was one of my first RPGs. You played it on the PS2. Venerable. But what is Minsk without his boo? Huh? What is Minsk without boo? More of an action title, but very fun. Ooh, look at you all playing all these D's and D's games. Oh, your cat won't go in for chin scritches? Oh yeah, he is super happy. Super duper happy. Hi. Yeah, it smells like you, huh? I can pull a clone off you with all this fur. Yeah. About every day I could probably take a pound of fur off you, bud. He's a 16-pound cat, too, by the way. He is a big boy. Yes, he is. Welcome to D&D and cat grooming. We've moved from social eating. We've moved from social eating to cat grooming while we're talking about D&D. You had the GBA with color at that. No, you're third owner of him and the people we got him from. Oh, gotcha. I got you, DMs. Well, you know what, though? Even if you can't touch his chin, if you're giving him a good home, I'm sure he's grateful, even if he is a little scared from time to time. You know, because obviously he can't help it. Where is all this coming from, bud? Look at that. Whoop. Number 2. For real reals. Huh? By gosh, by golly. Number 3. By the way, I'll have you know I brushed him yesterday also. Yep. I did. And he is not... There's no bald patches. He's not sick. He doesn't have some skin condition. Unless you count just like excessive hair as skin condition. He is absolutely happy though. You love Harvest Moon? Do you have the original Game Boy one? Oh my. He's a scaredy cat. He's gotten better in the 13 years I've had him. Well, I had a lot of fun talking about this campaign and this style. About being imaginative. Imagining this character, Velma Dilly Dilly. Right? Silly name, but look at the journey she's been on, right? Look at everything that she's done in this solo campaign. She's gotten followers. She now has a city underneath her. And for a dwarf, I mean, there's not a lot that's underneath you. Hey, Shlomo, good to see you. Welcome back. We are talking about D&D, and I'm also grooming my cat. So, you had night shift, and I had 1 hour of sleep, and I'm not sleepy anymore.